Today we're going to be looking at how to compare the same digit just in different place values. Remember to use your sheet that has the steps on it for you and your place value chart. Okay, so let's look at this problem. If I wanted to solve this problem, compare the 5 in 675 to the 5 in 81 and 35 hundredths. My first step would be to line up my two digits by place value. Okay. My second step is once I identify those place values, by lining them up, I'm going to actually underline the digit that I'm being asked to compare. So in this case, I'm being asked to compare the 5. So I'm going to underline the 5 here and the 5 here. After I've done that, I'm going to come up to the side and note their place value. So in 675, the 5 is in the ones, and in 81 and 35 hundredths, the 5 is in the hundredths. Once I've done both of those things, my second step is to identify if the digit I'm being asked to compare is smaller or bigger. So in this instance, it says compare the 5 in 675 to the 5 in 81 and 35 hundredths. So I'm being asked, how does the 5 in this number compare to this number? So this is the number I want to look at. So I'm going to look at 675, and I know that that 5 is in the ones place value. So my question is the number I'm being asked to compare the bigger or the smaller digit or place value, bigger or smaller place value? So in this instance, the ones is bigger than the hundredths. So my answer, I know, is going to be 10, 100, 1,000, or so on, depending on how many jumps I make. Remember, if the number you're being asked to compare is the bigger number, or the bigger place value, then it is going to be a whole number, power of 10. If it is a smaller place value to a bigger, it will be a fraction. Okay, and that's going to be based on how many place values you move. So as I move to the left, I am multiplying by 10 every time I move to the left. When I move to the right, I'm dividing by 10, or it would be 1/10. So in this instance, I want to know how much bigger or smaller is this 5 than this 5. Well, I know that this 5 is 2 place values bigger. So from the hundredths to the tenths is times 10, from the tenths to the ones is times 10. So I would answer this, the 5 in 675 is 10 times, 100 times. How I get this number is, that's 10 times, this is 100 times, so 10 times 10 is 100. So the 5 in 675 is 100 times bigger than the 5 in 81 and 35 hundredths. Now, let's say it was flipped. Let's say it says, compare the 5 in 81 and 35 hundredths to the 5 in 675. Well, then I would just be simply doing the opposite. Okay, I've already identified my place values. That's number 1. The second step would be to compare, is the place value I'm being asked to compare bigger or smaller than the other number? Well, in this case, hundredths is smaller than 1, so I know my answer is going to be in fraction form. So my answer would be the 5 in 81 and 35 hundredths is 1/100th of the 5 in 675. And how I get that is because every time I move to the right, I divide by 10. My answer would be 1/100th in that case.